Listen to a room full of ambitious people, and you'll hear a desperate scramble for attention. But if you look closely at the true power players in the room, you will notice a sharp, calculated stillness. Every unnecessary word spoken is a leak. When people talk too much, they experience bleeding power, accidentally spilling insecurities, anxieties, and underlying strategies onto the table for anyone to see. In high-stakes environments, the pressure to answer questions instantly is constant. We assume having a response at the ready demonstrates competence and readiness to those above us. This chart tracks the correlation between response speed and perceived authority. Senior stakeholders often associate rapid-fire replies with performance rather than thought. When you answer too quickly, you appear to be reacting to the pressure of the question instead of controlling the room. To stop this bleed, you need the Zaman Code, a 3-part framework designed to weaponize silence. It is a mechanical approach to transforming from a reactive pawn into a dominant strategist. In the hierarchy of power, loudness is the mark of the servant. Silence is the signature of the master. The first law is control through mystery. Saying less than necessary creates an enigmatic aura. By refusing to show your hand, you force others to interpret your stillness, keeping rivals off balance. This exploits a basic flaw in human psychology. We are naturally uncomfortable with a void. If you leave a gap in a conversation, others will compulsively fill it with nervous over-explanation. King Louis XIV used this as a brutal investigative tool to maintain absolute authority at the court of Versailles. When a minister presented a lengthy, passionate petition, the king would listen to the entire argument. Then, instead of debating or agreeing, he would offer only a cold, "I shall see," before turning away. By refusing to offer any reaction, the king gave his ministers nothing to push against. They would leave the room and spend weeks second-guessing their own arguments, eventually revealing their deepest anxieties to his spies. Silence acts as an offensive vacuum. It creates a psychological pressure that draws information out of your enemies. The second law is defense through restraint. If the vacuum extracts information, restraint acts as armor for your reputation and your long-term strategy. The philosopher Ibn Hazm observed that while many have been lost because of something they said, we have never heard of anyone being lost because they kept silent. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus laid out rules for this defense in the Enchiridion. In section 33, he lists topics to avoid: gladiators, horse races, and feasts. Most importantly, he warns against discussing men, specifically the temptation to blame, praise, or compare. Epictetus viewed small talk as an infection. Engaging in it drags the philosopher down to the level of the vulgar, exposing them to unnecessary conflict and revealing their positions to those who might use them as leverage. By refusing to engage in trivial gossip or excessive self-praise, you become a ghost in the social network, impossible to map, and therefore impossible to manipulate. The third law dictates offense through pacing. The person who controls the tempo of a conversation controls the power dynamic of the room. You establish this control using the 3-second pause. Before responding to any high-stakes question, take a deliberate 3-second beat of silence. Internally, this brief window gives you the time to structure a coherent answer. It also prevents the vocal bleed of filler words like or like that erode professional presence. This diagram shows the mechanical benefit. The 3-second buffer stabilizes the response, allowing for a signal that appears more thoughtful and senior to the listener. The physical execution requires you to hold steady eye contact with the person who asked the question. You are visibly collecting your thoughts, signaling total composure in the face of pressure. The pause severs the other person's momentum. It forces everyone in the room to operate on your time. When you master these 3 laws, you reach a state of formlessness. You provide your rivals with no emotional or verbal leverage to use against you. By combining mystery, restraint, and pacing, you turn yourself into a black box. You continuously take in information while revealing none of your own intentions. While others scramble to be heard, you occupy the silent shadows. You observe the room's unspoken tensions and hidden agendas, gathering the intelligence you need to make the final move. By withholding your own opinions and reactions, you force others to navigate around your stillness. They eventually find themselves guessing your next move, while you simply observe their next mistake. Stay silent, stay lethal, forge the mind.